Hey there, Genine Howard, CEO and founder of Iconic Empires, back for part 2 of your sales training and how to have authentic conversations which turn people into clients. In this second part of the training, I'm going to cover a couple of things off and how to prepare for these conversations with people, because how you prepare is how it ends up unfolding. How to frame the call for success, the golden phrases that get a yes every time, how to get a client begging to work with you regardless of price, and really that actual conversation that you want to have. And if we have time on this call here, I'll even do a role play of walking you through literally what kind of language and the format that I use to get an 80 to 90% rate of conversion in all of my sales conversations. So one of the questions that often I'm asked is, how long should these sessions be? So I see sometimes people have like a 30-minute or a 15-minute or longer. I'm going to say however long you think it takes, right? So however long you think is necessary for your industry to be able to explain to someone or have that person understand what it's going to be like working with you and how you're going to be able to, what the price is and all of that. So I know some of my clients have got 15-minute short conversations, and that's great and fine as long as you believe that you can tap into the client's pain points, tap into what they want, and show them the next step in that short time frame, right? And if it's not too complicated, then great, shorter the better. I will say too that when you're first starting these kind of conversations, book out a longer period of time, because, I'm a great believer in it takes as long as it takes. Some clients are, hell yeah, I'm going to sign up with you after, 15 minutes of talking to you. I have found when you're first doing this, you need extra time, right? You need the extra time to get used to the process, to practice, and, to kind of get over your own stuff. So my general, consensus for you is maybe block it out for 45 minutes. Like that's what you promote the call time frame to be, but actually block it out for 60 minutes or a little bit more. All right. And that's for you. And in this booklet too, in this workbook, I've actually got a breakdown of like the ideal time period that you spend on each section. So I'll just run through it really super quick. So for example, in the first 5 minutes, and it probably isn't even 5 minutes, but you set the intention of the call. So you'd outline how the call is going to work. For the first 15 minutes, you explore the client's desires. What is it you want? Where do you want to be, say in 12 months time? In the next 15 minutes, you talk about the client's pain points or their barriers. Then you have another 5 minutes just to re-establish those pain points and what they desire, and reiterate that to the client, or ask more questions if you haven't got clear. The next 15 minutes would then be used for that sales conversation kind of process, and we'll go through that in detail. And then of course you want at least 5 minutes if that client comes on board. You want to be, having enough time to take their payment details and getting them onboarded. So that kind of takes 60 minutes, that whole process. And again, if you go back to part 1 of the training, this is not necessarily always the outcome of these calls. The outcome could be that you're going to talk in a couple of days' time about the details of working together. So it could just be this initial call, but that's kind of the framework there. And again, I've got my notes on my other computer, so bear with me. You'll see I've done some cool graphs there. I've even done a discovery call process of what I believe the good time frames to allow for a discovery call, which is probably shorter, probably more like 30 minutes, because they've possibly already seen your sales page or your website you're offering. They may have even seen your pricing. Okay, so what I want to dive into now is effectively establishing, like setting yourself up the right way for these type of calls, because how you set up yourself beforehand really makes a difference of how you go in to that call. And I'm going to say straight up that if you go into the call with the intention of making money, you've started off on the wrong foot. You have to go in with the intention of being of service and being okay that you may not be the answer for that client or that client right now. All right, so don't be attached to the outcome of the call. This is where I see a lot of people really mess up the energy of these kind of calls, and it comes from the salesy point of view, like the whole time go, I think they're going to come on, yay, I think I'm going to make, a few grand here. If you kind of focused on the money, it's not about that. It's about being of service. And when you don't make it about yourself and you make it just about the client, right? And I call it holding this space. So you hold that space for the client. It's not about you. It's not about anyone. It is really about this time period. You are absolutely all in dedicated to that client and finding out as much as you can about the client's desire and their problems so that you can come up with the best next step for them, right? So look, if I'm going into a strategy call, I usually have like a little meditation session. Now, not long, not a big kumbaya. Like I just take a moment to ground myself, center, and just tap into that client. So I'll reread their intake form if they've put one on there, or I'll go and check them out on Facebook or find out as much as I can about them. So really tune in to that client. And look, honestly, I work quite intuitively, so I've kind of already tapped into their energy before they get on the call. And by me doing that, it means that they're not a stranger. When they get on that call with me, I'm already on the process of it, right? So have a read over their sessions, go check them out, and have everything ready. You don't want to be doing a bit of fumbling and looking up, just one moment. You really want to have everything at your disposal so that when you're on these sales calls, you are looking professional, number one, but also too, that's a distraction trying to find everything. Also too, I was saying before, and it's really weird, I can hear like a chainsaw in the background. So if you can, I do apologize. But if you're setting up that sales conversation, really, block yourself into your office, close the door, even put a sign on the door, like studio lights are on, people. We really want to have these sales conversations as that cone of silence so that you have no distraction. Mobile phone, turn it off, put it away. You don't need that. Nothing needs to be distracting you, especially if you've got kids, my kids can burst in like right at the moment when someone's crying. So we're very, very full on in this family that normally I don't do my sales calls even when the family's close by. The kids are normally in daycare and I only take calls on those days because I know that I've got that space, right? And just make sure, you've got like pen and paper for credit card details. Are you ready to process it? Because nothing's worse than, someone shuffling paper. All right, so during that session then, so that's the before preparing for these sessions. So during the session, you really need to show up as in control and as the leader of the conversation. And I tell you what, one of the things I hate when I get on the phone with someone, like if I'm I'm the client potential, is when they faff about a bit, like how weather and how's things and all of this faffy stuff, right? We're not here for faff, right? I'm here, my time's precious. Let's cut to the chase. So you need to take the reins, because a lot of the time your potential client is nervous as hell, especially if you've got high ticket offers. They already know that. They're like, this woman's going to take lots of money from me. So, you need to really take control. So here's some ways of setting the intention for that call. So I'll do a little role play. I might go, I'm going to read it because I've got a script here. By the way, scripts are great when you're first starting out and you can copy this script. Welcome, Mary. Okay, in today's call, this will go for about 45 minutes, and it's a really good opportunity for you to get clear on what you truly desire for your business, where you currently are, and then we'll talk about next steps. How does that sound? Right? So these are my golden phrases. How does that sound? So Mary goes, great, yes. What that does is you setting up that intention, taking control, you're already the leader, and you're actually getting her to feel safe and secure by doing that. So she knows, oh, I don't have to do anything. She's going to tell me exactly what to do. And then those words, how does that sound? She's going to say yes. And this is really important along the way. We want a congruent yes for every single step so that your customer or potential client feels really comfortable with saying yes. It's not a trick, people. It is NLP, but it's not a trick. It's just getting them to be congruent. All right, so how does that sound? Great. We're on to the next part. They know exactly what's going to happen. You would then tell them what is going to happen next. So you might say to Mary, okay, great. So Mary, what I'd love for you to do right now is, would you tell me like what you really want from your business? You know, paint the picture, you know, sky's the limit. What you're going to see in this call, I'm going to role play this a lot. So much easier to role play, but there is the script here. I will say along the way too that you need to hold the space for that client so that they feel really comfortable in confiding in you. Now, I don't mind what you're selling. Like, I don't care if you're selling business coaching, love coaching, you know, interior design, staging, whatever it is. You need to make that client feel like they're in a really safe space, because no matter what people are buying, they're buying it because they feel something. They either feel a pain or they have a perceived desire that they want to feel, right? So I'm just going to give you one other little piece of script that is really worthwhile using. You can say something like, and just so you know, during this conversation, everything you say is completely confidential, and I want you to know this is a safe space for you to talk freely. I'm here to support you in any way I can. All right. So obviously don't necessarily use that if it's like some man who wants to book your, you know, home styling. He's like, what? I'm not going to cry. So, you know, appropriately for that particular client. And during that whole conversation, be the leader. Like, you keep that client back on track, because people have a tendency to wander and start talking about, I don't know, their dog. So you like interject and you bring people back around to the topic at hand. People have a way of not answering questions. I was just on the call to a beautiful potential client this morning, and the question was a yes or a no answer. And this is what typically happens. So she said, well, blah, 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 blah. And I said, so is that a yes or a no? Right? And she just laughed. She's like, yes. You know, so you've got to allow yourself to bring them back in, like round them up. It's like herding cats sometimes. And you could actually pre-frame this by saying something like, because we have limited time today, I want to make sure we keep on track. So if we're going on track, just so you know, I'll probably interrupt you and steer us back. Is that okay? Right? And they're going to go, yes. All right. So you're taking control. One of the biggest takeaways that I want you to have from this particular training is that these calls are not an opportunity for you to talk much at all. Even though I'm saying steer them back on track, the idea is for you to listen. So you take a back seat, you allow the client to open up to you, because if you do too much of the talking, they actually feel intimidated. And, you know, no one wants to have something rammed in. You know, when you have those phone calls and it's like Telstra, Optus, so, you know, solar panels, and they just ram information at you in your ear, like you're not feeling heard, you're not feeling like your needs are even met at or interested in at all. So we really want to just sit back in that real listening position, okay? And if you find that you're talking a lot, you're doing yourself a disservice. Right, let's get in the guts of the content of these calls, because it's so important. And one of the things I want you to know is what an eliciting question is, right? So an eliciting is a drawing out question. So we want to elicit a state from our clients. Now, this is all in the document too, so go have a good read of this, but this is like a real technique in sales. So we say, like, we want to get someone's desire, we want to know what their desires are and their pain are. So we want to elicit their desired state. We want to pull out from them their desired state. We want to elicit from them their pain points, all right? So we want to use certain language and questions to get that from our clients so that we can be of service, all right? So let me give an example what these eliciting desired state questions are. It sounds fancy, so just go with this part here. What would you like? It seems like such a simple question, but asking someone, what would you like? They never get asked that. People don't get asked, what would you like? Then you would say, ask as many questions as you can so it draws out from them, if there was no, I love this question, if there were no barriers to time, skills, talent, or money, what would you love? What would you like your life to look like? What would you like your business to look like? For some of you, it's, what would you love? Here's one of them for the wedding. How would you love your wedding to feel like for you? All right, what would you love it to look like? Belinda, for you, it might be, what would you love, like, in having your home styled? Keep asking as many questions so that person really draws it out. Once you've written all of that down, by the way, write it down either with a pen. I type, and by the way, just a little sidebar, if you're going to type the answers on a call, pre-tell the client, because you'll hear that, right? We don't want them to go, what is that noise? What are your noise? I have to undo the typing I just did on my computer. Okay, so do less of the talk. I literally typed out my stuff. So we want to ask questions like, what will having that do for you? See how that's such an amazing, important question. So they go, oh, right, so this is what I wanted, but what will it do for me? I don't know. It gets them to really uncover this whole level of stuff. So, going back to weddings. So what would it do for you if that wedding looked like, and repeat what they said? Say Cheryl said, oh my God, I want my wedding to be, have this and a tent and this and have 100 guests and, feel like, amazing and, Moroccan nights. And you said, what will having that do for you? And she'd go, oh, wow, okay. Well, I guess I would feel like a princess. I would feel like it's the most amazing day of my life. I would feel that all my friends are really jealous of my, whatever that is for Cheryl, right? You can even ask a second question, or a third question of, how will you know when you have that, right? Get them to really understand what that question is. So Cheryl says, I will know when I'm standing on that dance floor doing my bridal waltz with my husband, and I can see all of the faces of my friends and relatives looking at us in absolute awe. Or it might be for Cheryl that, I'll know that when I'm looking through that photo album a couple of months later, right? So keep pulling out as many questions as you can. This is so important. You've got to know intimately what Cheryl wants for every part of that step before you go any further. And always go back, just, reiterate to her. So what I'm hearing is that you would really love to have the wedding looking like this, etc., and having all of that, and that will give you that feeling of being a princess, and you'll feel amazing, and that you'll really know if you've got it if you're standing on that dance floor with your husband and everyone's looking at you. How does that sound, right? And so use that word again. How does that sound? Or am I right? Yes. So we want to really get the yes, yes, yes. Before you go anywhere else, you would then say, is there anything else? Is there anything else you want? And do it until they're done. And this is why it sometimes takes a really long time in these initial calls. So say Cheryl says, no, gosh, that's it. Yeah, that's everything that I've always wanted. Great. You would then go into, we want to go into the pain now. Okay, Cheryl, so tell me, what do you think is going to stop you from having that experience? Can you see any barriers? What's been holding you back? So let's jump over, say it's a business coaching client. What's been stopping you from having, if that's your vision, why don't you have it now? And this you need to really draw out from, you need to have those eliciting state questions so that they can have clarity of what it is and how they would feel if that had happened, or how they currently feel because of that pain. It might be Cheryl, let's use Cheryl with the wedding. She's like, oh my God, like I have this vision for what this wedding's going to be like, but do you know what? I just have no idea where to start. I'm so busy in my job already. I don't have the time. I don't maybe have the money. I don't know. Like what, pull out from her all of that, right? And really get her to understand where she's stuck. So to dive in more into a personal development where you can use a lot of this a bit more, there's questions like, and again, in the workbook, work through these and use your own questions relevant to your industry. It's so important. It's like, this is personal development stuff, so I'm just going to go here. Here are some questions on what you can do to ask the client to get clarity if they're stuck. What might you lose that you value if you were to have this experience now? Right? So when they've decided what they desire, what might you lose that you value to have this experience now? So this is to uncover what's holding them back. What's that thing that's keeping them stuck? So that, I had a beautiful client on a potential client call this morning, strategy call this morning, and she said, do you know what it is? Judgment. She said, if I put myself out there, I feel like I'm going to get judged. Great, I can work with that. See how she didn't even know before that it was judgment that's been holding her back from creating the business and life that she wants. So I can use that information, so I'm writing down judgment, of when I get to the end of the call about what I'm going to help her with. That's going to be one of them, right? Other questions are, what are you gaining from staying where you are now? Cheryl, what are you gaining from, you want this massive wedding, you want this to be absolutely beautiful, but what are you gaining from still trying to do it part-time and all of that? And she's like, oh my God, nothing, I'm gaining nothing, I'm stressed, I'm tired and all of that, but maybe I'm still trying to do it because people think I'm a failure if I don't plan my own wedding. Cheryl, problems, that we've got to tap into that deeper level. Do you understand? So just because it's a wedding doesn't mean that it's just about organizing it. It's about why Cheryl's holding on to trying to do it herself. And it's not just because she likes cutting out the pictures in magazines. It's because perhaps it's pride. What will her parents think? What will her friends think? She wanted to have her name on it, that people go, oh my God, Cheryl, you made this amazing wedding, right? And by the way, ask questions as you go. Welcome to, and I'll try and answer them as I go. And if you're watching the replay, I'll answer them later. Some of the other questions I've got in the workbook here, but, how do you know the new outcome or whatever it is you desire is going to be worth it? Really challenge them, because then they'll tell you why they need you, right? So let's stay with Cheryl. If Cheryl says, by having this wedding planned for me, it's going to help me feel sane. It's going to help me connect with my husband because, I haven't spoken to him properly and he thinks I'm mad. It's going to help me feel less stressed on my wedding day and feel beautiful, and et cetera, et cetera. Pull it out, pull it out, pull it out. So once we've really teased out that what they want, what they desire, and you've reiterated that to them and they've said, yes, yes. Is there anything else? No. Then we've gone on to the pain. Tell me all about that. How's it going to make you feel? What's going to happen if you're still, if you're standing on your dance floor and you've done it all yourself? And she's going, oh my God, I'm going to be a nervous wreck and probably have to go to bed really early, right? You reiterate that to her. This is what I'm hearing. Is this true? Yes. Only then can we go on to the next stage. All right. If you want the script and questions, I want you to grab them from this workbook, mold them into your own relevant to your industry. And then we want to go to the next level. So this is the really important part, and this is where people really kind of muck things up, is when they go into what's the sales conversation side of things and feel like it's salesy and feel like for some reason that it's about them and they have to justify themselves and, oh my God, is the client going to say yes or no to my pricing? Am I going to lose the sale? All of that stuff. It's your stuff, right? So stay in client service mode, because if you truly are meeting the needs, the desires and the pain of that client, this next part should be a breeze. I have one of my kids' plastic cups right here. Right, so by this stage, you should know if you can help this person, and you should know if you actually want to work with this person, right? That's really important. If you cannot help them, if you do not believe you can help them, you would probably wrap this call up and say, do you know what? I think the best step of action, why don't you do steps 1, 2, and 3? All right. And I'll check in with me in a week's time and let's see how you've gone with that. And that may very well be it. If, however, you do think that you can help that person, you would then say something to the words of, would you like help with that? And the answer is usually yes, because they're on the phone to you. So they do want to get help with this situation. And you go, great. Would you like me to explain to you how I think I can help you? Yes, is usually the answer. So we're not going to go into selling pricing or anything like that. This is where you give the overarching strategy of what you would help that person with if you're working with them. All right, so say, let's use Cheryl. Say you knew everything about Cheryl now that you needed to, what she desires for her wedding, how she wants to feel on her wedding day, you know, the barriers for her to actually giving it up to planning, you know, what that's going to do to her if she actually still does it herself, also what's it going to do for her if she does give it up, right? You would say, okay, great. So Cheryl, if we were working together, what I would do is I would, remember, I'm making this up, I'm not a wedding planner. What I would do is I would have a deep dive session with you and your fiance over a cup of tea and over high tea, and we talk about the big dreams for your wedding and we'd map it out. And by the end of that session, I'll have a full plan for you of how we're going to orchestrate this wedding. How does that sound? So golden phrase again, how does that sound? She goes, oh my God, that sounds amazing. And then what I would do is I would actually take over all of the running of the wedding. I would do the run sheets, the invite, the list, the take care of this, take care of that, blah, 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 all the way up to the night where I'd be there for you. I'd be on call. I'd have my headphone mic set, you know, all of this good stuff. How does that sound, Cheryl? She's going to go, oh my God, that sounds amazing. Sounds exactly what I'm after. If for some reason though, she goes, oh, that sounds good. Hang on, you know that there's somewhere along the lines that Cheryl's not congruent with what you just said to her. So now you have to go into deep dive questioning. So you would go back and go, okay, so Cheryl, just let me get this clear. So what I'm hearing is that you want this, and this is what's stopping you. And then, you know, I can do this for you. Where's the gap for you, Cheryl? And she might say, oh, you know, I really totally want to look after the music myself. Okay, great. She wants to look after the music. Okay, great. We don't have to do that. You can look after the music. Or, you know, I'm making stuff up, right? So you just keep asking questions. Anything else, Cheryl? Is there anything else that you want? So she's telling you everything. You leave that space for her to be very clear on telling you everything that she wants and what she doesn't want. They're as important as each other, because sometimes in sales, people focus on just what people want, but you're leaving 50% of the barriers of when it comes to asking for sale on the table, right? That's where the money on the table is. So keep asking, keep asking. So then you would reiterate, okay, great. So what I see is that what we're going to do is we'll do that deep dive session. We'll do this, 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 and this, all the way up to then, how does that sound? And if that client is absolutely, sounds amazing, great, right? They're on board. Effectively by now, that client has said yes to working with you in her head, right? And now there's just formalities to work out, okay? That's all it is. Money is just a formality. So if you've done your job good enough to this point, the money shouldn't be an issue, all right? Does that make sense? So let's then pretend I'm jumping into role play again with Cheryl. Great, Cheryl. So I'm really pleased that, you know, that you believe our service is going to help you with all of that. And I'm really excited. So I would love to invite you to work with me, right? So even this is like a whole new level of things. So you're not sitting here going, please work with me. You're saying, I would love to work with you. If you did, right? If you didn't, then don't. So I'd love to work with you. Would you like me to outline what the fees and charges are? It's yes or no, right? It's yes or no. So it's not allowing any room for like, oh, I don't know. There's no I don't know about it. It's either yes or no. Would you like me to outline my fees and charges? Yes, says Cheryl. Okay, great. All right, my packages is, you know, X amount paid in full, or we do a deposit of this amount and then certain payments. How does that sound? That's it. It's as quick as what it is. How does that sound? Right, so we don't want to take too long with this particular side of the process, because if we've got any money issues and stuff, we'll start, you know, you can actually really start like getting nervous and jumbling your words and all of that, and that really throws your client into unsecure territory with you. You know, whereas if you're very confident about your pricing, have it all written down, you know, next to you. Okay, Cheryl, so our pricing is packages of blah, 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 or a payment plan of deposit, this, this, and this, and this. How does that sound, right? Script it all out to start with, because you'll just follow the script and that keeps the nerves from coming in. I'm going to record a third part of this training series in objections, money objections, because it's like a huge one. It's like probably one of the biggest parts of the call that you'll have to deal with. And I don't want it to ever feel like sales to you. So we'll do that as a third training later on. But for now, the process of that call is just no different to my 3 steps to selling anything. All right, keep it simple. Step 1 is their pain. Step 2 is their pleasure, or twist it around. Sometimes you'll have a client start the call with what's going wrong, and that's fine. So you just, right, well, we're doing the pain first, then the pleasure. So pain, pleasure, and then the next step. So the next step is potentially working with you. The next step is, I don't think I could work with this person, so I'm just going to give them some tools to say, see you later, or join my Facebook group, or, you know, whatever it is to move them on to that next level, still with love and compassion and still from a place of service. So it's no different. It's no different, that 1, 2, 3. You just have to make sure that that client is congruent with a yes along the whole entire process, and that you've asked enough questions to make sure that that client is crystal clear on what they want, what they don't want, and what the next step is for them. All right? Have fun in sales. It's not salesy, because if you do this as a normal human being wanting to serve another human being, it is just a beautiful conversation. All right? Much love to you all, and good luck with your sales.